Ladies and gentlemen, what's up and welcome to today's review of Morningstar. We're going to be talking in an extensive amount of detail about all the pros and cons of this character, what modes of gameplay she's going to be super good for, her viability as a defender and how to use her there, and basically just going over all the essential information you need to know if you're thinking about going for Morningstar, because she is a really good champion. I've placed her in the demigod tier in terms of my tier list, but only when she has 5 souls, and kind of that's the biggest thing about Morningstar, is in scenarios where you can't ramp up the captured souls, then she sucks in comparison to a lot of the other champions. She really doesn't have her power there. She gains a huge amount of awesomeness from getting to 5 souls and having the life steal, some crazy damage on the special one, the 50% block chance, but outside of that, there aren't, if you can't get the souls, or if you're just fighting scenarios where there's only like one boss, then she's not really going to be that good. But lucky for most elements of the game, when we're talking about Alliance Quest, when we're talking about the monthly challenges, the occasional challenges that come out, like the Dave Bautista's one, where you have like an easy path to kind of ramp up, and then the more challenging stuff, I think there's going to be a lot of value to be found for Morningstar, and I've been testing her out a lot in Act 5. We uploaded a video earlier today. If you want to see a huge Act 5 gameplay compilation of all fights in the Collector chapter, and also Morningstar versus the Collector, to kind of showcase her blocking ability versus the special attacks above 55%. So yeah, some really interesting stuff, and I believe this character has a lot of uses. But then going back to that point, if you cannot get the souls, if either, you know, it's straight to a really difficult boss where you need her to be at all the souls to be kind of the viable option, or if it's in scenarios where you can't get to the special free, because that's how you capture a soul, is via the special free, then you just don't want to bring Morningstar. So that is by far the biggest con of the character and the thing to bear in mind. But providing you can ramp up the souls, that is the Morningstar that we're going to be talking about, the Morningstar at 5 souls. So I'm going to start off just by quickly explaining how to capture a soul on the opponent. So this is done by the special attack free. So you essentially use this and it places a counter on Morningstar, which starts at 50, and for every tick of damage your opponent takes, it moves it 5 more towards 100, and for every tick of damage you take, it moves it 5 more towards 0. So if your opponent has, like, for example, like a degeneration debuff like Bane, or anything on the node, and they've got a tick, then it's going to capture the soul really fast. And if you have suicide masteries, then it's going to, deteriorate really quickly. And with suicide masteries, you can't really, because we did a little bit of testing in New York Comic Con with Blade and Legacy when they got their 5-star Morningstar. So with suicide masteries, it's really hard to actually capture the soul in fight, but if the fight ends and you're capturing a soul, like in the process somewhere on the spectrum, it will capture the soul then, and if you use the special attack free to end the fight, then that will also capture the soul. So there are ways, if you are playing suicide masteries, to capture the soul. However, another big con of the character is that for the most damage, in the majority of circumstances, it is all about spamming that special 1 attack, and especially with recoil, that's going to eat through your health so incredibly quickly. So that's a huge kind of downside. You don't really want to play this champion, in my opinion. If you're using suicide masteries, you'd probably be significantly better off with a champion like Ghost Rider if you're looking for a bleed immune character with regen that synergizes fairly well with suicide masteries. So yeah, in terms of kind of what Morningstar has, so the first thing, she is bleed immune, an amazing thing for Alliance Quest, really good thing to have. And also we'll talk about how her souls ramp up. So 1 soul, when she's struck with physical contact, Morningstar has a 50% chance to cause her opponent to bleed for a certain amount of damage over 5 seconds. Now this only triggers off direct hits, so this actually makes Morningstar quite a good like ambush defender in Alliance War. You know, if you place a Mystic champion outside of kind of the boss area, then it's a mystery. So if somebody, for example, took like an Archangel to fight Morningstar, thinking there was probably a magic, because, you know, Archangel has a really good time against magic, but against Morningstar, Morningstar is bleed immune, so that totally gimps Archangel's damage, no neurotoxin there, and also Archangel is going to take a load of bleed damage back as well. So I kind of like that she is a quite interesting ambush defender, but this will only be effective when she's awakened, because when she's awakened, she passively starts with 1 soul, or if you have her in a team synergy with Guillotine, which you don't really want to use Guillotine as a defender, unless you have already stacked one in the current state for Diversity, but hopefully Diversity gets rotated out of the important stuff in AQ. So yeah, you really need her to be awakened if you want her as a defender, and if you want to play her, the awakened ability, it's not essential, and we'll talk about it, but it's a very nice to have feature. So 2 souls, the special 1 triggers unstoppable for 2.5 seconds. This can be quite good for just brute forcing down enemies if they don't have any power, because you can just lunge at them and start hitting, and pretty much know that, you know, you're either going to attack into their block, or even if they attack into you, you're unstoppable, so they won't be able to kind of get their combo in there. 3 souls, the special 2 becomes unblockable, so I didn't think this was going to have much use, and I mentioned this in the Ghost Rider video, but when you are in scenarios like you're fighting Bane, or you need to desperately get a hit on the opponent to prevent something from happening, or transfer something over, having an ability like this is actually really, really handy to have kind of stored up, so that's awesome. 4 souls, you gain additional energy resistance and a 50% perfect block chance. Again, absolutely huge. This is, I believe, is going to make, you know, Morningstar one of the best kind of perfect block champions in the game, because I think she has a lot, you know, in scenarios where you can get her to over 5 souls. I don't really see much of a reason to play a Captain America, for example, over a Morningstar, unless there's really a big class disadvantage, but even then, like, Morningstar has quite a bit going for her, additionally with the lifesteal and massive damage off the special 1. So the 5 souls has a 20% chance on hit to lifesteal for 50% of the damage done to the opponent. Now this is only direct damage, not energy damage, and a lot of the additional damage from both the special 1 and special 2 come from like additional energy. So this isn't as good as it sounds, but it's a really, really nice top up throughout the fight, and especially if you get really lucky in some of the matchups that I was doing earlier. There were matches where we were healing about, you know, 30 to 45% over the duration of a fight, and if you are on nodes like Flare in Act 5 where you have a huge attack bonus, or you are in scenarios where you get like a really big attack bonus, or you're fighting an opponent with Fury, or you're using a lot of boosts, you know, this has an increased additional scaling benefit. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like, I like it. It's very like hassle-free. It's just happening all the time. But again, it's pretty random, and it lacks an element of control when it comes to actually regenerating. So on the heavy attacks, you have a 100% chance to trigger a power gain, granting 5% of max power per captured soul over 15 seconds, and this has a maximum of 1 stack, so this is up to 25% power gain when you have 5 captured souls. Even then, you know, I tried kind of weaving in heavy attacks, but I really don't like using heavy attacks. They're not really my thing, but it's 25%, and when you do play a lot with Morningstar, you're going to find a big chunk of damage is going to come from that special 1 spam, and that's almost a full bar of power there. So I think, you know, if you do have opportunities to get the heavy attacks over the longer course of a fight, those are probably quite good to lead, kind of weave in, and probably are going to result in kind of a net damage increase, because again, there isn't a huge amount of damage just off the basic 5 combo. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And the special attack 1, that's where the big damage comes from. Each hit of this attack deals bonus energy damage per captured soul, and then that damage is like tripled on critical hits. So at 550, it's about 1.5k for a non-crit, and then if it crits, it's very, very close to about 5,000 energy damage. So I think this actually makes Morningstar, and I might be wrong on this, but I think she now has the most powerful special 1 in the game, on the provision, of course, that she is at 5 souls. So yeah, really, really awesome stuff there. I can't really think of a special one that kind of contends in terms of damage. Maybe Yellow Jackets to a certain extent, but the special attack one, you know, with all of the hits combined, if you did get really lucky, you're looking at 550, probably about 17 to 18k damage, maybe even a little bit more. So yeah, really, really awesome stuff there. The special attack 2 deals an absurd amount of bonus energy damage per buff active on the opponent. It has free like beams as well, and will nullify all the buffs. So, you know, if you watch the Act 5 gameplay video from earlier, tearing through champions like Howard the Duck, Old Man Logan, Groot, just by spamming the special 2, which is really, really awesome to have. So yeah, I think Morningstar, in terms of her abilities, man, she's got so much going on for her. They're talking about the Awakened ability for Fury, Power Gain, or Regeneration. Whenever that procs on an opponent, it reduces the potency by up to 50% at dupe level 99, and then will grant an own buff. So the Fury pretty much double, well, it gives it a plus 50% increase to your base attack. The Regeneration is about 15% of your base health, and the Power Gain is 22.5% power over 15 seconds. So the signature ability, it's all that, and also 1 soul at the start of the fight. Again, it's very nice to have, but isn't needed, so you can still play and probably enjoy Morningstar quite a bit even when she isn't awakened. So yeah, that's a really kind of nice icing on the cake signature ability there, which I like. I really like those signature abilities that are really nice to get but aren't reliant, because it kind of sucks when you pick up a champion and you're like, oh, this champion is nearly completely worthless without having it awakened. So I really like the design in terms of that. And also in terms of the synergies, so Guillotine's one is in terms of benefiting Morningstar, it is completely useless if you have her awakened. Although the synergy with Guillotine makes Guillotine's soul charges take 10 seconds longer to expire, so ups them from 10 to 20 seconds. So that's a bit of an interesting one, a really nice buff to Guillotine there. I think the best synergy is probably the one with Mephisto, which will allow Morningstar to start the fight with 1 bar of power. This is quite an interesting, because I've been testing like 2 team synergies, and the first one is like Mephisto. I think it's Mephisto, Magic, Colossus, and Juggernaut, along with Morningstar, and that's got like 3 crit nodes and also the start the fight with 1 bar of power. And then I've been testing like the full X-Men team synergy with all the crit, the attack bonus, the crit damage, and I must say, like, this is really, really nice for like building up a lot quicker to 5 souls. But once you get to 5 souls, I think you definitely want to have the X-Men team synergy. That's just been my experience so far. Again, it's only probably been about like 5 or 6 hours of playing Morningstar, just in a variety of Act 5 stuff, but that's kind of what the real big feeling I get, because also with that you also get the Warrior Queen synergy. So for Morningstar, buffs last 20% longer, so your signature ability is more effective, and also the power gain from the heavy attack is more effective as well. So that sounds pretty sweet. Also increases the buff duration on Angela by 20% and gives Magic additional crit rating and crit damage. So yeah, some interesting stuff there, potentially with the what is it, hybrid Mephisto and Magic and Colossus and Juggernaut synergy. But all in all, I've been preferring the what is it, the X-Men team synergy a little bit more, and I think that I think it will come down to personal preference for a lot of it. But I guess, you know, there's the start with the fight with 1 bar of power, like there is a lot of power in the fact, you know, if you're doing something really, really easy, maybe some content that has about like 10 to 15k opponents, there's a good chance that you can like parry and special one and just get them down if you're lucky enough with the crits. So yeah, I think there's some good stuff to be found with the Mephisto synergy for sure, and I must admit I do quite like the synergies on Morningstar. There's a lot of stuff that I don't really like with the Mephisto synergies and the Blade synergies with kind of Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange, and having abilities that should have already been on the characters in the first place. And to a certain extent, you know, that Guillotine synergy, the soul charges takes 10 seconds longer to expire. I'd love that just to be on Guillotine as a base one, because, you know, Guillotine could use like a little bit of a buff to kind of bring her a bit more in line with some of the Mystic champions. But, so, ladies and gentlemen, overall, I think Morningstar is, again, a fantastic champion for scenarios where you have kind of a few not-so-challenging fights to start off with. I think she's going to be a great option for Alliance Quest, some of the future challenges, when it comes to story-based content like Act 5. If a newer or more progressing player picks up this champion when they're in, like, the 4-star or 3-star crystals in a few months' time, I think it's going to be such an amazing champion to pick up to kind of progress through the game with. So yeah, all in all, like, I'm really happy with Morningstar. I think they did a fantastic job. Certainly not a botched up champion like Carnage or Kingpin, but yeah, if you want to be the judge for yourself, we have some Act 5 gameplay video, gameplay on the channel, so go check that out, see how she does, and yeah, make the decisions for yourself there. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this early Morningstar review. If you did enjoy it, feel free to smash that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching, take care, and have an absolutely fantastic day.